Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the meeting, and thank you, Director Patel, for being here. I want to just preface this. I feel important to say that I think while the history of the FBI has not been a perfect one, the goal of the agency has always been focused, as it should be, on keeping Americans safe, the safety of American citizens. And I think I am concerned about, and I think millions of Americans as well are concerned about any suggestions that there will be a political agenda or adherence to the president's agenda as opposed to the safety of American citizens. And I appreciate everything you've said this afternoon, and I'm grateful for it. I know I've been in the business of politics for a long time. The only thing I ever care about, whether it's the military or law enforcement, that it's professional and it's nonpartisan, and that we uphold the rule of law and the Constitution of the United States. And I'm just very, very concerned about some of the things I hear from the Oval Office, not from your office necessarily, but from the Oval Office, and hope that the president recognizes that the FBI serves the American people, and it serves the rule of law, and the Constitution does not serve the president or any political agenda. And I just want to feel honor-bound to say that as a preference. So I appreciate you being here. First of all, do you believe it's your duty to uphold the Constitution of the United States?
Mine and everybody at the FBI.
I appreciate that, sir. I want to go back, and I appreciate what everyone said. You know, the skinny budget, as we're calling it, is frustrating for appropriators because it's really hard to tell from the literally 10 lines and 100 words about the FBI what is envisioned here, and it calls for a cut of, as we've talked about, $545 million. I gather, as I'm piecing this together, I think roughly speaking, the proposed budget is about $10.7 billion. The president has asked for about 10.2, rough numbers. You're suggesting 11.2, which would be about a $500 million increase. And I think I share, as my colleagues do, some interest in, first of all, recognizing what that increase would be and how it would accrue to the benefit of the American people. Can you just quickly, and I have a couple of different questions I'd ask you, just tell me where you would focus that increase on, because I'm concerned about the proposed cut, and we have virtually nothing to go on here.
Yeah, very quickly, just in the last 3 years, the FBI has, through budget cuts and CRs, left vacant 1,000 permissions approximately every year. So right now, while everybody thinks the FBI has 38,000 employees, we do on the books, we don't have 38,000 humans. So year over year, those cuts have led to book attrition. And in order to get some of those back and some of those vacant slots back, we need to actually fund them. And the rest of the funding would go to preventing the removal of an additional amount of agents.
Well, look, I'm sure you share our frustration. You probably didn't like the proposed budget any more than I think many of us did. So we would encourage you, as you're speaking to the president, to encourage him both to speed up the process and also to consider some of your recommendations. Earlier this week, there were reports by the Attorney General's plans to dissolve the Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force by September 30th of this year. I find this deeply troubling. The task force's recent success in my district, just last week, we removed over 200 grams of fentanyl from the streets of Rochester, New York, where I'm privileged to represent. I did send earlier today a letter to the Attorney General, which I would ask unanimous consent to enter my letter into the record, but expressing my concern over the decision and reminding the Attorney General that funds appropriated by Congress for fiscal year 25 are required to be spent. And the legality of the decision aside, the FBI is an important member of that task force. I wonder if you could just share with me the importance of the work to national security and to the public, and how, if you've been consulted, and what your views are on the efforts to decommission it.
I believe are you referring to OCDEF, sir?
I'm sorry?
Are you referring to OCDEF?
Yes, that's correct.
My understanding, and I'm not going to speak for the Attorney General on how the department views it, is that the cut is only to one singular office, not to the OCDEF program writ large, which the FBI has a large authority over. And so I have not been informed yet, and again, I'm not speaking for the AG, that the OCDEF program itself would be shuttered in any way.
Okay, we're getting it from news reports because we're not getting it from the department. It said a DOJ budget analyst at OCDEF, I think that's how you say it, would be zeroed out in the budget. And also, and I just note parenthetically that it brought in $2 billion in proceeds. It cost $500 million to run the program. So that's honestly,
it's good ROI.
Yeah, this is good ROI. So I'd love to come back to you if I could, or have further conversations with your office about it, because I would like to see it continue. I think it does amazing work and is well worth the investment that we make. So again, thank you for being here, sir.
No problem, sir.
Mr. Alford?
What you just witnessed wasn't just another congressional hearing.
It was a rare moment where a lawmaker cut through political noise and asked a question that strikes at the very heart of American democracy. Does the FBI exist to serve a president or to serve the Constitution? Congressman Joe Morelli's words carried a weight that goes far beyond Washington talking points. He reminded us that the FBI, with all its complicated and sometimes controversial history, was never supposed to be a political instrument. Its mission is, and always should be, to keep Americans safe and to uphold the rule of law. Yet his tone revealed something deeper, an anxiety that millions of Americans share today, that law enforcement could be bent to political will rather than constitutional duty. That's why his question to FBI Director Kash Patel was so sharp, so unflinching. Do you believe it is your duty to uphold the Constitution? In that moment, he wasn't asking for platitudes. He was asking for clarity. He was asking for a public commitment. And Patel's answer, mine and everybody at the FBI, was as straightforward as it was necessary. But here's where things get even more interesting. Morelli didn't stop there. He pivoted to the budget, something that often sounds dry and bureaucratic, but in reality, it's where the real battles of power and priority are fought. The so-called skinny budget put forward by the administration wasn't just about numbers. It represented a vision, or perhaps a lack of one, about the role of federal law enforcement. A cut of more than $500 million to the FBI isn't simply about trimming waste. It's about limiting what the Bureau can and cannot do. Think about the implications: fewer agents in the field, longer delays in critical investigations, and potentially weaker responses to threats ranging from organized crime to domestic terrorism. Kash Patel even admitted that while the FBI may list nearly 38,000 employees on paper, chronic underfunding and hiring freezes have left thousands of positions vacant. On paper, the Bureau looks fully staffed. In reality, it's operating understaffed, overstretched, and under pressure. This has real-world consequences. It's not abstract. Take fentanyl, for example, the deadly opioid flooding American streets and tearing apart communities. Just in Morelli's district, agents recently seized 200 grams of fentanyl. That's not just a statistic. That seizure alone represents hundreds of lives potentially saved, families spared unimaginable grief, and a community that can breathe a little safer. Yet at the very same time, there are reports that the Department of Justice is considering dissolving or defunding critical task force programs, like the Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force, that play a central role in those very seizures. Let that sink in. A program that costs $500 million but brings in over $2 billion in proceeds and, more importantly, disrupts drug trafficking networks is being targeted for cuts. That's not just bad math. That's bad policy. And it begs the question, who really benefits when programs like these are weakened? Certainly not the American people. Now, zoom out for a moment. What we're seeing is a struggle over whether institutions like the FBI will remain independent, professional, and mission-focused, or whether they'll be hollowed out by politics and budget gamesmanship. Morelli's line of questioning was less about Patel personally and more about accountability. It was about demanding assurance that even when political winds blow fiercely from the Oval Office, the FBI will stand firm in its constitutional duty. History shows us why this matters. From the abuses of J. Edgar Hoover's era to modern-day controversies, the FBI has always been at risk of overreach on one hand and political manipulation on the other. The balance is fragile. That's why hearings like this one matter so much. They remind the public and the officials themselves that loyalty to the Constitution must always come first. And this is where you, the viewer, come in. These discussions aren't just for politicians and bureaucrats. They affect your safety, your community, and your freedoms. When budgets are slashed, when independence is compromised, it's ordinary Americans who feel the impact. That's why it's crucial to stay informed, to pay attention, and to hold leaders accountable. Because democracy doesn't just protect itself. It requires all of us to watch, to question, and to demand better. So ask yourself this: do we want an FBI that is independent, fully resourced, and dedicated to the Constitution? Or are we willing to accept an FBI weakened, politicized, and unable to fulfill its mission? That's the real question behind Morelli's pointed exchange with Patel. If you found this analysis valuable, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and share it, because conversations like this are too important to be ignored. They deserve to be understood.